Protect your DNA. BioPQQ can promote formation of new mitochondria. Infowarsstore.com.
How dumb does the system think we are? 30 years or 3 decades of his iron rule over the North African state of Egypt. Hosni Mubarak refuses to step down, even though the head of the CIA is in front of Congress saying he's going to step down in a few hours. Mubarak comes out and defiantly says, I will not step down. I will not let this foreign conspiracy overtake Egypt. And then magically, we're now told he had a stroke right after that, and the army announced the next day that they would be, quote, reforming things. This is a public military coup. There's no democratization. There's no calls for election. CNN and Anderson Cooper, who's admitted CIA, are announcing how great this move towards freedom is. Mubarak is reportedly in Egypt with a stroke, or maybe even dead. He's in northern Israel, on the side of the sea. We don't know where he is. And where's the media? This is an issue that isn't even being discussed. Right after he says, I will not step down, this happens to him. What's developing here is the bodies are being buried. This guy has been the distribution center for the kidnapped people being taken to torture sites all over the world. This is the main central site for black sites or ghost sites where all this illegal activity is going on. This guy has the dirt on George W. Bush. He has the dirt on Barack Obama. This is the man who's followed all of their orders. But there's a problem. In the last year, it's been reported that Hosni Mubarak refused to politically get behind greenlighting an attack on Iran when Egypt is on Israel's western flank. Hosni Mubarak refused to expand other wars in the region. And this is a message to all the other Arab regimes. You get behind this buildup towards war with Iran, or it's over for you politically. And now the Muslim Brotherhood, is admittedly British intelligence, is trying to overthrow Saudi Arabia, Yemen, Jordan, all of these allies. What does this say to people that have gone along with the New World Order? What does it say to individuals watching out there that have bought into teaming up with this system? You will be betrayed in the end. How much more obvious does it have to get? And you look at the fate of Nasser with the heart attack after he gave a defiant speech, and other leaders in Egypt and many other countries. This is a message being sent out to the world, not just Middle Eastern politicians, not just politicians in Africa or Latin America or Asia, but to American politicians. Just like the message was sent with John F. Kennedy's murder. If you don't play ball and submit to the banking cartel, we will kill you, whether it's a gunshot to the head or whether it's a convenient stroke or heart attack. But the current issue that's looking us right in the eyes, that's in our face, is why isn't the corporate media in the U.S. talking more about the mysterious disappearance of Hosni Mubarak? The biggest story in the world right now is Egypt and the rebellions spreading all over the Middle East, North Africa. Why isn't it a bigger discussion about where Mubarak has gone to? And what messages it send to all these pliant dictators and servants that the British and the Swiss and others are moving to seize the ill-gotten gains of Hosni Mubarak after he served them so well. Yes, Mubarak was a terrible dictator, just like Saddam Hussein, just like bin Laden was a globalist asset. But why are they treating their servants so badly? Did they ask him to do something so horrible that his conscience kicked in? We know the facts. There was a Western-funded military coup of Egypt. There are no elections. Just like shark teeth, Mubarak has been removed and another row has rolled up. And then we're told this is freedom? The people are smart enough to understand what's happening. And if the globalists want dictatorships in Egypt and in every other country they influence, what do they want domestically? And we know they want a police state tyranny. And the very same corporate interests that run Egypt run the United States through fraud. And they're threatening members of Congress, they're assassinating people, and we are all under this yoke of global corporate tyranny. But once we wake up and are aware of it, it loses its power. So wake up. To learn more about this and other vital topics, visit Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. When you're on the site, you can also tune in 24 hours a day to my daily radio broadcast. There's also a free iPhone app to listen to the syndicated radio show when and where you want.
For you to go places in half the time it takes to travel by car. For some trips, it'll be faster than flying, without the pat-down.
It's the sort of security we've seen a lot of since 9/11 at places like airports and now here at the bus station.
Specific, credible, recent threats that are causing what some believe to be these invasive screening tactics.
Well, Robin, we know the threats are real, and we've seen this latest information coming out of Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula.
Remind Americans why we now check our liquids. It's because a mother was willing to blow up the baby and the entire plane with the liquids.
Right.
The Department of Homeland Security has not been forthcoming with the public about the true extent of radiation risk.
Advanced imaging technology would not have discovered the type of bomb that Umar Farouk Abdul-Muttalib had secreted in his underwear.
Well, I think reasonable people may disagree on that.
We are not retaining, we are not keeping. They're not designed for that at all.
The TSA is reiterating today that although its machines can store images when they're being tested, quote, all functionality to store, export, or print images is disabled.
Throughout history and in every culture, there is a basic precept of law that if someone has been caught lying before.
What's the difference between lying and misleading Congress?
It all has to do with your state of mind and whether or not you had the requisite intent to come up with something that can be considered perjury or a lie.
You should not believe anything else that they tell you.
It would not apply to those who are here illegally. It's not true.
And when someone has been confirmed to be a congenital or serial liar, you are a fool to believe anything they say.
It has been months, and you tell me that you're not, you weren't doing it because of an IG investigation. Well, let's go through a few questions here, Madam.
Well, wait just a minute.
Let me finish my question.
Wait just a minute.
Madam Secretary, let me finish my question.
That insinuation is not accurate.
You know about the TSA and their penchant for molesting children, raping women in parking lots, robbing luggage, stealing cash out of wallets, beating people up, and then lying about them. You know about their penchant for child porn and the incredible statistical analysis that we've seen that they are predisposed to engage in crime. No kidding. Who else wants a job groping men, women, and children all day and making old ladies who can't walk crawl out of wheelchairs and ripping colostomy bags off of people's sides? Who else wants to abuse people all day but criminals and control freaks? But in this report, I want to look at just some of their lies because they're constantly lying. And the prostitute traitor stream media that serves the globalist and these brown shirts of the federal takeover need to all be called on the carpet. Now, let's just look at the latest lie that came out today. The Tennessean newspaper reports Nashville airport video doesn't show irate Senator Rand Paul. And they link to the video And there is Paul being completely calm with the police. They're now also having to admit that he was detained for more than an hour and a half, as he said he was, which under common law is a custodial arrest. So there you have it. Within minutes of this being put out by Ron Paul on his Twitter, the New York Times talked to the TSA and said he wasn't even stopped for 5 minutes. He's a liar, and he was irate. And the police put in their report, part of this culture of lying, that he was irate. All lies by a group of people that lie and lie and lie some more. And then, of course, lie some more. And we have the White House siding with the TSA. We have Rush Limbaugh coming out and saying, oh, his dad's like a Muslim terrorist. You know, let start the groping. You know, after all, he flies on private jets. But let's look at some of the TSA lies that affect us all. Radiation. They've had studies back in the late 1990s from these same systems, and that's why they weren't deployed all over the world. These things have been around for decades, that they're massively linked to different types of cancer. So Johns Hopkins and many other prestigious universities come out and put out reports in the last few years saying, our studies show this stuff can give you cancer. I mean, the scans are so powerful, you can see the skeleton bones in the fingers. I mean, it's high-powered. And all these studies come out, so the TSA comes out and says, Johns Hopkins says it's totally safe. And the head of Johns Hopkins radiology department comes out and says, our study actually says the opposite. And the TSA doesn't correct their mistake because it's not a mistake. They are a pack of criminal, out of control, 10th Amendment violating and 4th Amendment violating goons who are now setting up checkpoints on the highways of America. And that's why the feds don't care how much anger or how many tens of billions in tourism the TSA destroys. From foreigners that won't come here and Americans like myself that won't travel because I won't have my family groped. Because they're getting ready to be all over the United States. They're going to hire your local police, it's been announced. They're going to run checkpoints, mobile vans. It's already happening. So you think you're just not going to fly and get away with this? Oh, sorry. There's plenty of people that couldn't hold a job at McDonald's that are going to be officer and agent TSA. And your wife's in deep trouble. And your children, they're in even deeper trouble. Psychologists have come out and pointed out that the TSA groping of children is actually training them that when pedophiles touch them to test and see if they've been acclimated for rape, that they will submit to the touching and not say no. And what's the TSA say? They say, we don't think that's the case. And again, lie to the public and say everything's okay and claim, despite the fact that there are hundreds of videos and photos showing them taking babies' diapers off and going in the pants of small children, they come out and say over and over again for 3 years, we do not go in the clothes or even through the clothes and touch genitals of under 12. And then hundreds of videos come out and they say, okay, we're going to stop. Last time they said that was in November of 2010. And continued it over and over again and said again, we won't do it. Continued it. Lying, lying, lying. First they say it's not groping and sexual assault. Then they say they're not doing it. Then they say they're going to stop doing it and continue it over and over again. Lying about radiation, lying about groping, lying about the sexual assault, lying about the statistics on how many of their people are caught engaged in every crime you can imagine. But then you see bizarre statements on the TSA blog and in their press releases saying there's hardly any complaints. Why? Hardly anyone is against this, and we only pat down 2%, which is a total lie. I fly all the time. I'm forced to as a journalist. I fly a lot. My crew flies a lot. And in hundreds of flights total, we've estimated that at least a third of the people where we fly are groped, including most people who are put through the naked body scanners. So they're lying to you about radiation. They're lying to you about groping and sexual assault. They're lying and saying they're going to stop doing it to children. Or they say they never did it to children. Or they say they didn't go in the pants of Miss USA. And then she goes and gets the video and they admit they did it. But let's continue. A few months ago, a whole bunch of 85 and 90-year-old women, many of which couldn't even get out of their wheelchairs, started reporting that they were taken behind closed doors and made to take all their clothes off. And the TSA came out and said, you're lying, we don't do that. And then so many people went public that they said, well, we do take you behind closed doors and take your clothes off. We don't call it a strip search. And then even in their apology, The women who've been assaulted by them say it's all lies. I mean, it's lies within lies within lies within lies. But what do you expect from a federal brown shirt goon force meant to dog train us and break our will to basically live like maximum security prisoners? They're coming to malls, highway checkpoints, they're already there. Sporting games. We're all being trained to have government put their hands on us, and TSA is now training for forced inoculation. Federal grants to local police, they're training them for forced inoculation. That's why they're doing this. That's why they're lying to the American people, because we're seen as an enemy, and you lie to an enemy in warfare. This is a foreign banking cartel occupying the United States, and the TSA is their shock troops to bureaucratically go out there and train us to accept this. In just the last week, Homeland Security has come out and said, we're not just about terror. We're going to hire your local police. We're going to certify who can get jobs anywhere. We're going to set up checkpoints in your town. We're going to have spies all over Twitter and Facebook. We're going to have citizen spies on the ground recording what you say politically. They are recreating classical, hardcore despotism. This is 200 proof evil. This is certified as bad as it gets. It's conscious takeover. Oh, and also they said that the machines could not physically hold images.
The machines are not set to store images. They're not set to transmit images.
And then we got the manuals sent to us by insiders that said that when they test the machines, they look to see if they can see the genitals, and that is the marker they look for to make sure that the machine is tuned right, and that indeed all the images are saved, not just at airports, but at courthouses, and have been leaked and shared, and they pin them up on the wall, and when they see a good-looking woman that's come out, they put them through them. So they lied about saving the images. There have been cases in England where they come up to famous film stars and ask them to sign scans of their own genitals. This is really happening. And of course, it's a bunch of abusers that are willing to take these jobs. Remember that basic precept in law, that if someone's been caught lying before, don't believe anything they say, and they're criminals. What do they say about the devil? He's the father of lies. Whether you believe in the devil or not, this is a devilish attribute that we're seeing. This is tyranny. Why do we just accept when government lies about Rand Paul and says that he was irate and wasn't detained? Both lies. Why do we not get upset about that? Why do we trust people that act like this? The truth is, more and more Americans are awake. Congress has a 9% approval rating. The system knows we're waking up to them. So now they're taking the velvet glove off the iron fist and just going with the iron fist. It is time to reawaken the spirit of 1776. It is time to recognize it is criminal when the TSA violates the 10th and 9th Amendment and operates in our states. But it's even more criminal when they grope our children, our wives, and our husbands and harass our old people and make cancer patients get out of wheelchairs that can't walk and make passengers help get them out of their chair. This is assault, and it's criminal. It's sexual and physical assault. But it's also criminal when we put up with it. We become cowardly accomplices to these scum. The TSA takeover of America has unified the people. And so have a lot of other issues. And the system knows that their attempt to break our will is backfiring. Get this key report out to everyone you know. The future of our republic and the world depends on it, because this corporate tyranny is being exported everywhere. And speak out against these criminals and let the TSA and their handlers know we're aware of their criminal takeover and stand against their terrorism against the American people.
Well, here's a couple of things that we're working on. Number one is expanding trusted traveler programs where people will get biometric cards. They've already supplied information. We know they are safe to travel. We can move them through the system.
Have you been to InfoWarsShop.com lately? Express your inner patriot with these brand new InfoWars t-shirts. Say it loud with the InfoWars Bullhorn shirt, or educate the sheeple with the Bill of Rights shirt. Grope the public's mind with the TSA shirt. And with this shirt, you can let the dark side know of the Rebel Alliance's power. All available at InfoWarsShop.com.
For more than 6 years, I've talked on the air about creating a social network. PlanetInfowars.com is in its beta phase. We're just launching it, and I want to invite all of you out there to be in on the ground level. Planet Infowars is about people coming together, forming activist organizations, getting involved politically, hunting and fishing, gardening, dating. This is a place for people who love freedom to meet and to talk and to write and to post information. And I give you this pledge. We are not going to spy on you and sell your data to the New World Order. PlanetInfowars.com is free, so people who love freedom can get together, connect with people who are awake and know what we're facing. Be active, organize, take action, go viral, create, contribute, resist, because resistance is victory. You are victory. It's waiting for you to breathe power into it. PlanetInfowars.com. My friends, for more than 9 years, we have chronicled the federal government's giant, unconstitutional, 10th Amendment violating power grab that is the TSA. More than 8 years ago, I read federal documents and also witnessed the head of Homeland Security, Tom Ridge, admit that in America, to have a job, to drive a car, to have a driver's license, to be able to travel anywhere or go to a national park, that you would need federal approval as a, quote, trusted traveler. Over 2 million Americans are now on the no-fly list. They're expanding it to a no-gun-buy list. No jury, no judge, no conviction. You're just put on these lists. Now the TSA and Homeland Security, along with Chucky Schumer, are pushing a no-travel list on trains, buses. Homeland Security has come out and announced that they're going to have TSA at checkpoints on major highways, not just bus terminals and train stations. This is all a strategic rollout in the name of security. Why everyone must be safe everywhere, and it's the federal government's job to stick their hands down your pants, your children's pants, your wife or husband's pants, and to grab your wife and children's genitals in the name of safety. This is all about training you to accept total tyranny. There's been a big new development. A federal judge out in Santa Fe, New Mexico, ruled that the TSA needed to run security at the schools and at school proms to make sure that the school officials, the authorities, not the servants, were carrying the searches out properly. That's right, a group of people who, outside of law and federal jurisdiction, have been caught stealing money from people, who've been caught engaged in pedophilia, who put you through the naked body scanners and then grope 1-year-old babies and 6-year-old girls. They are now going to certify your local police and private security and say, hey, we're the federal government and we say you can stick your hands down people's pants at the prom. Now, they announced out in Santa Fe, New Mexico, that last Saturday they would be there a few days ago, sticking the hands down the pants. But for some reason, the TSA backed off and didn't show up. But never fear, they had the state police there groping people. So the message is this: you're not allowed to congregate anywhere in land of the free, home of the brave, unless federally approved goons are there groping you.
No TSA agents at one Santa Fe prom tonight, despite a federal judge's ruling saying there had to be.
Santa Fe District Superintendent Bobby Gutierrez says instead of TSA agents, the court is allowing them to use state police for this evening.
This is the new America. They want in your personal space. They want to prepare you with these federal grants for the police to take blood at warrantless DWI checkpoints, to have forced inoculations on children outside of law, as they got caught a few years ago doing with elementary school students, and the flu inoculations. It is the antithesis of freedom. It is a 180-degree polar opposite from any basic liberty. And it sells the idea that if you give up your liberty, the government's going to keep you safe. This is a huge power grab. It's a federal power grab, and it's wrong, and it's becoming absurdist, so ridiculous, it's hard to even believe the headlines. TSA to oversee searches at Santa Fe prom. And then a few days later, no TSA agents at prom despite court ruling. What are federal courts doing, saying, by God, we need to make sure these searches of the kids are being done properly. Let's send in our crack teams of TSA agents to grope their genitals. Doesn't matter how many states pass laws against this, the feds say it's their prerogative to do it. Why do we even have states then if the feds claim there's no 10th Amendment? How did land of the free, home of the brave get to the point where the TSA, under a federal court ruling, is saying they're the great arbiters of security and that they have to have a TSA representative at a school prom to make sure the searches are done properly and everybody's safe? This is a monopoly on security, a monopoly on reality, and it makes no sense. No one can keep you totally safe. No one can wave a magic wand and ensure nothing will ever happen to you. But that's what the nanny state is pushing. Well, who protects us from the cops killing us with tasers? Who protects us from the cops throwing homeless people out of wheelchairs and slamming their head in the ground? Who protects us from tyranny of the state? That's always been the big threat. But in this bizarre 1984 world, the federal judge said, well, there's been complaints about kids being groped at school, so we'll send the TSA as the experts to teach them how to do it. That's like saying, hey, this guy beat his wife, so let's send a serial killer to teach him how to really deal with her. He'll chop her head off. Federal goons are there to run the frisking of high school students? Now, the TSA backed down this time. They said because, they couldn't get their people in line, and so the state police did it. The point is, they're going to be back, and this is being rolled out everywhere. It's up to us to say no.
Security consultant David Boehm says the future could include security checkpoints entering all soft targets, like your local department store.
Every day, millions of Americans come to places like this.
Crowds of people, open doors, arrivals, departures.
It's the sort of security we've seen a lot of since 9/11. Now, here at the bus station.
Teaming up to keep your family safe.
You guys came off the train, right? We all came off the train.
America is being converted to a servile, dumbed-down population who is conditioned to having secret police have us line up and answer questions and put their hands all over our body and grope our babies, our wives, our children. What the hell? How did we get to this point? Of course the criminals in government are staging the terror attacks. Of course they staged the Gulf of Tonkin. Of course they're rolling this out as the pretext to take over society while the offshore banks that finance our politicians steal tens of trillions of dollars. Think about this. What's coming next?
Non-invasive sensors measure behavioral and physiological indications of malintent for everything from large sporting events, border crossings, or airports.
If you see something, say something.
Today the airports, tomorrow the world. They are taking over every facet of society, and they've said on record it's their plan. You have a choice to make. Are you going to let federal goons stick their hands down your pants, fondle your body at highway checkpoints and at school proms? Are you going to turn yourself over to this tyranny? Are you going to allow these psychopaths, these criminals that have staged terror attacks on record to take control of our society in the name of security? Or are we going to stand up against these people? Visit Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. When you're on the site, you can also tune in 24 hours a day to my daily radio broadcast. There's also a free iPhone app to listen to the syndicated radio show when and where you want.
I can feel it. I can feel it. I'm great.
Robots became so intelligent, they defined themselves as human beings.
Torture! I was always taught torture was wrong, but I'm pro-America, and now that they say torture's good, well, I decided that when in Rome, do as the Romans did. But Humans don't care about seeing other humans tortured. We've been dehumanized. They got mad though when the Marines threw that puppy off the cliff because people still have empathy for animals. I thought, what about an iPad? What is it going to think? People love inanimate objects. They love things. They love possessions. They don't get upset by humans being tortured.
Yes, naughty little boys.
So I thought, what would happen if we tortured an iPad? And that's what we're about to do. Okay, 12-pound sledgehammer. Make sure this is working. Good. Just a professional interrogation for America. What we do, the good guys. After all, Joseph Mengele wasn't that bad, was he now, according to our government? Got the electrical power here. And of course, made in the USA waterboarding equipment. We're going to have a discussion with you, Mr. iPad. You understand? And you're going to answer our questions. Al Gore's on your board, and you guys pose as a bunch of egalitarian liberals, but you're made in China by basically slave labor. Well, Mr. iPad, again, I'm going to ask you, why are you made in China? This is going to go on for a long time here. And it's only going to get rougher. Oh, you're going to not respond? Well, that's fine. At the end of our little session with the iPad, I'm going to explain exactly why we're doing this in detail. But overall, it's an important experiment. We've got all these different implements of torture or enhanced interrogation, but I figure we just go ahead and cut right to the chase with the power drill. Again, one of the tools of the CIA. I've told it to explain to us why it's in league with Al Gore, and it will not answer my question. We're going to get really serious right now. We're going to get some answers. Now I'm not even going to ask you questions. This is like in Pakistan when a Predator drone drops a bomb on a wedding. Now we're just going to kill your ass, because that's pro-America! Yeah! Come on, yeah! Answer my questions! We're the good guys! We're America! You will answer our questions! Torture is good! I smell China. Literally, you can smell it. Look at that smoke coming out. Let me get you cleaned up for the next round. Well, you're still alive. We've been torturing you for quite a while. Because again, that's the American way. That's freedom. And now we're going to go ahead and put you out of your misery with a firing squad. So let's put your little blindfold on. Let's give you a cigarette. Good. It's time for the firing squad for high treason. No judge, no court, no nothing. Under the Enemy Belligerence Act, now in the U.S. Senate, we're allowed to arrest you as a U.S. citizen, torture you, kill you, do whatever we want, because that is freedom. Enjoy your cigarette. No trial, no nothing. Under the USA Patriot Act, iPad, you are terminated. Ready, aim, fire. Well, looks like that didn't do it. We have to shoot you a couple more times here. This is going to continue for a while here. I'm doing this because I'm a patriot. I'm going to take your bank accounts because I'm a patriot. I'm going to set up checkpoints because I'm a patriot. Everything I do is because I'm a patriot and you're an evil iPad. And one more right between the eyes just to get you out of your pain. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how we deal with terrorists. You know, after we torture somebody to death, we got to get rid of the body. We got to dismember it. So even though the iPad's no longer with us, we got to get rid of the evidence. Ah, the guts. It's almost as funny as one of them dead Iraqi kids.
Oh yeah, look at that, right through the windshield.
Those weapons of mass destruction got to be somewhere.
Oh, it's their fault for bringing their kids to a battle. That's right.
Nope, no weapons over there.
It's almost as funny as one of them dead Iraqi kids. Designed in America, made in China. You have just taken part in a psychological test, a study. There's a lot of different facets to it. Number one, I like Apple. I like the iPad. We have a couple in the office, and I bought one at home. But I've seen people literally worshiping these machines. You know, humans don't care about fellow humans anymore, but they care about inanimate objects. And I said, we ought to do a psychological test to show how people get upset out on the web about watching the video you just saw, but don't care about Iraqi kids in a minivan being murdered in front of everybody. This is the dehumanization. We saw that a year ago when the Marines throw the puppy off the cliff, and it was admitted the Marines had done it, and the Marine Corps admitted they'd done it, and actually kicked them out of the Corps, but people were still living in denial, saying, no, the Marines didn't kill that puppy, it's too evil. See, Iraqis are dehumanized, but the puppy, it matters. Well, the puppy matters a hell of a lot more than this iPad did. And over 1 million Iraqis in the last 7 years have been killed conservatively, and their society was wrecked like this iPad. And so that's one reason I did this. I also wanted to show, and I'll guarantee in the comments below this YouTube video, you'll see it, that people are going to be angry that I did this because they associate it with a living thing. And in the future, computers may become artificially intelligent. Like Isaac Asimov talked about 60 years ago. There'll be laws against doing this to computers. That shows how twisted our worldview has gotten, where we've been trained by the eugenicist environmentalists that human life means nothing. But I do want to add something here. I don't believe in reincarnation. Not in animal life, not in human life. But in the case of this iPad, it did not die. Its consciousness, or all of its programs and apps, are downloaded on 2 computers over there, and we've already bought a replacement. And so literally the data that was in this iPod will repossess and will enter the body of a new iPad. But Iraqi civilization and many other civilizations, many areas of Serbia, have been reduced to rubble that resembles this pile of junk. Then, of course, there's another facet. Apple claims they're all liberal and trendy and care about humanity, but Al Gore, who wants to put carbon taxes that will reduce world population in place, is on their board. And Apple pushes all of this anti-private property rights, anti-human propaganda. And so I guess it makes sense that they have giant factories with people working for slave wages all over China. Oh yeah, designed in America, made in China. And the people there are being paid so little they can't ever afford to buy an iPad. And so there's also a lot of hypocrisy there. I think technology is great, but it's a double-edged sword. It can be used as a tool for good or for bad. But for those of you out there that were upset by seeing this happen, or think it was wasteful, $500, this will probably get 1 million views in the next year, and will educate thousands and thousands of people that watch it who will get what we did here today. And then, of course, there's the subject of torture itself. The Army's own report, the Tagumba report, admitted they were raping children, torturing people with battery acid, with drills, torturing people's children in front of them. Those are human beings, ladies and gentlemen, and are 1 trillion times more important than this iPad that the mind of man created. Man is the greatest species on this planet. Man is reaching towards the stars. And we also need to be wary of the future of technology, lest it supplant humanity and be used by a technocratic elite to set up a prison planet. The elite have written many white papers stating that because they have robotics and automation, they don't need a large population anymore. That's why Bill Joy back in 2000 wrote the article, Why the Future Doesn't Need Us, and discussed the fact that the elite are seriously considering exterminating the majority of the world population. I know a lot of you went to college and you believe in the people bomb and you believe there's too many people. The problem is you don't understand that you're in the crosshairs of the elite as well. And machines are being used as one of the major tools to control us, to track us, to predict our movements, to predict our very thoughts. And so it's important to keep technology on a very short leash, lest it be used to enslave us. Again, I'm Alex Jones with Infowars.com. I hope this little presentation has spurred some of you to think. I hope you'll have lively discussions with your friends and coworkers and neighbors about the torture of an iPad. Of all the reasons we did this, number one is to get you thinking out there. Many of you can't form relationships with fellow humans now. You're only forming them with machines. You're losing your humanity. The vocabulary of the average American has shrunk by thousands and thousands of words, and the statistics show it's even getting worse with young people, with teenagers. You go out to a restaurant, you see all the kids around the table texting their friends. I love technology, but I also understand the downsides. And that's why we showed you here, it isn't machines that matter, it's the people that built them. It's this precious species. Rediscover the power of humanity.